reminds me, the other day I said to myself, I cannot think of a famous actress named Trish.
You're kidding. That's my favorite name.
What? Mine too. How have we never talked about this?
To me, a woman named Trish is a woman you can count on.
Really has her act together. Athletic, natural.
Just real natural. And loves the holidays.
Trish? At Christmas? Forget it. She gets everyone a gift.
What about Halloween?
Ah.
Trish leaves a big pot of candy for the kids.
Yeah.
Because she trusts.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy a little bit later this week than usual. We have the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
Eric Goldman and I just had trouble syncing up, linking up, hooking up this week, just based on our schedules. Also because we actually spent days together in person last weekend.
Yes.
So Monday was kind of a wash because we saw each other and neither of us were watching the movie that day. And
You were
so
flying home?
it actually became like, when can we work, do things at night, and also see this movie that we were going to review and recap later, which is Girl on the Third Floor.
It was one of those things where I realized it was like, oh shit, it's Wednesday, and I have not watched this movie, nor do I have time to watch this movie.
There was also probably a little bit of like, I just saw this guy and talked to him a lot. I don't want to fucking talk to him again so soon. Bleh, bleh. So that's my Foley art.
Yeah.
This week's main event is Girl on the Third Floor, directed by Travis Stevens. It's available on Netflix for free with a Netflix subscription. And so coming up, and I think we discussed this on the last proper episode of We Enjoy, which is that you are going to be away. Here's the situation. Eric's away on a week's vacation, and he took the keys to the brand new Porsche. So we're not going to do an actual proper episode this coming week, but we will do, and we're going to record it tomorrow, the next day, a breakout 2021 Nia DaCosta Candyman episode, because we've both seen that, and we just led you through 3 Candyman movies. So we'll culminate with that, but it won't be the main event of an actual episode, but it will release in this coming week, so you will have something to listen to. It just won't be surrounded by the news of the week and stuff like that. So news, knock it off. Nothing big break this week, please. No big trailers, no big firings, no big deaths, nothing like that.
And I guess, you should, let's just say, I'm going to say it for you, Matt. He'll post that Thursday morning to get us back on a regular schedule, except then I know the following week will probably be a day or two late because I'll just be getting back from my trip. But after that, we should be able to give you on a regular schedule.
Well, what if I don't want to post it on Thursday morning, Eric?
I mean, but look for it by Thursday. I don't know.
Eric, look at you locking me in.
I'm not gonna...
I'm under the dome here. So let's do. And we can also tell you what the main event will be for 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. So for the next proper episode, we are doing. I actually have to go to our chat to see what the movies are. We're gonna do an actor marathon, and we may actually, because this dude has quite a few cool movies to readdress, recap, review, revisit, we might do this in chunks, just some cool chunks, which is a Kurt Russell round 1 will consist of 4 movies, the first of which is, what is the name of the movie?
The movie is called
Computer with the Thing and the Guy with the Shoes.
It's called, that's exactly it. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, which is one of his first big Disney hits when he was a young Disney star. And I thought it'd just be fun to kind of see where it began for young Curdy Russell. I don't know if they ever called him Curdy. I've never seen this movie. I bet it's not good, but we're going to start.
But you're saying it was a big hit.
Yeah.
It was. So it may not be good, but people did go and see it.
Guys,
regardless,
there's a trilogy. I found out it last year.
Does the computer keep wearing different things?
No, this kid keeps having wacky adventures and different crazy things.
Is there always a computer?
No. It's more about the crazy things that we'll talk more about this next week.
So the first movie of a series.
Yes.
The title of the movie is a character that doesn't, or an entity that doesn't even continue through the series.
Yeah, but think about it like the Pink Panther. What was the one that wasn't even called the Pink Panther? It's like there they did decide to kind of glom onto that title, but back in the day, like these characters, it's kind of like James Bond, right? It's just like that's characters back in a new adventure, or
So-
even I know now from the Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book that the movie that Sharon Tate was in that she goes to see in that movie was part of a series where what's his name? Not Jerry
Not Jerry Lewis.
not Jerry Lewis, the other guy, Jerry
Dean
Lewis.
Martin.
Dean Martin had a whole series playing the character that she was in that movie with, and none of them had a title that would tell you it's the same series. Kind of like Dirty Harry did that, I guess, most recently, as in the 80s, it ended.
But the
So,
first movie was still called Dirty Harry. Is what
That's
I'm saying.
true. That's true. But if here it's just
No, but I get what you're saying about like James Bond, because James Bond's name is in none of those movies. So
right.
unless
So the computer
unless
board-
his alias was Dr. No, he especially didn't start off the first movie. Is Kurt Russell's character's alias? Is he known as the computer who wore tennis shoes? Is that like his spy name?
He is simply known as Dexter Riley, but Dexter Riley has a whole movie trilogy with Kurt Russell starring in all three of them.
All right. So the whole purpose of this podcast was to do it today because we both have very short windows, and Eric's actually has a hard out to see a movie. So let's get through this fucking computer with his shoes and all that.
The Computer War Tennis Shoes, which is on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So
And then should we tell them the next ones or just
No,
take it week by week? Okay.
Take it week
So
by week.
so don't
We're
get
not watching the Dexter Riley trilogy.
yeah, followed by Bone Tomahawk.
That's right. But that is part of the Dexter Riley trilogy.
Bone Tomahawk, either whether we watch it in a Kurt Russell chunk or I recommend it as a good thing to enjoy, I would recommend it as a good thing to enjoy. Bone Tomahawk, not the other Kurt Russell Western that is not Hateful Eight or Tombstone. Okay. So the computer with the shoes and the thing is next week, or 2 weeks, I should say.
2 weeks.
And this week is Girl on the Third Floor, a movie that, and I'll talk more about this on the actual Candyman episode, a movie that when I revisit it in my head has a few blueprint format things that are kind of similar to Candyman, the new Candyman. So these movies line up more than we anticipated, which is good because we hadn't recorded this and we took us a while to watch it, and then we both watched Candyman, and now all I really want to do is talk about Candyman and not Girl on the Third Floor. But here we are at the bridge that we said we'd cross when we got to it. So first, let's talk a little bit in the entertainment world very quickly. Let's start off with the biggest thing, which is not news per se. It is news, but it's also stuff that we can dive into a little more, which was the official release of the first trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
And I guess very briefly how it all came to be, which is that there was a leak that was a guy watching another guy painting another guy painting. It was,
someone filming a phone playing it.
It was like the Norman Rockwell self-portrait of him painting.
But the version on the phone was like an unfinished FX version of the trailer.
So the ideal way to watch anything, really,
Right.
which is again how I'm going to watch Dune, which is through a phone, on a phone, watching a phone that's not finished. And then by the next day, they finally at night released the full trailer.
The weird thing of that, the timing of all this is that because the full trailer was obviously coming because Sony had their CinemaCon presentation happening. So it's not like Sony was like, oh no, we have to get this trailer out. It leaked. It was always going to leak. So that's what makes it weird that a unfinished, horribly filmed version leaked like 24 hours before.
It actually fooled people into thinking that the trailer wasn't as close as they thought it would be because they're like, they haven't even finished the effects. Well, it's like, what version are you looking at and how long ago was this done? Like,
right.
Yeah, it's not like they rushed and 48 hours later put out the trailer with all the finished effects. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen, but I saw a few people who believed that the new Masters of the Universe animated series, not the one that debuted last month, but the one coming next month that has He-Man in it prominently, as his name's in the title, was done in response as a reaction to the one that had a stupid blowback, as if they could have like written produced, edited.
Well, as you and I both know and are hyper aware, one of the easiest things to produce and one of the quickest turnarounds in the entertainment industry is animation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It in no way needs a long couple years to get things going at all.
No, you can just throw it up. Yeah.
Unless you're South Park, like one exception.
Yes.
So, okay. There are, I still can't bring myself to watch, what is it? The Social Dilemma, the thing on Netflix all about how awful the internet is and how we're basically at a point of no return that we can't go back and we're all going to kill ourselves because of the poison toxicity that the internet has infused into our society on a daily basis. I can't bring myself to watch that, but tangentially, one of the worst offenses that the internet has ever done, and you and I have been at the heart of this since the beginning, is that it has absolutely convinced the dumbest people on the internet, or the people who know very, very, very little about the creation or production of big entertainment properties, to think that they know more about than experts do, and that people working in the industry do. And so, and that even gets into anti-vaxxing and the people who think they like the drive, the need that they need to feel that they, as the lowest, are the smartest. Like they are smarter than scientists.
They have inside info that no one has. And
that is just a byproduct of the internet. Like the drive that your voice is smarter and better, and that you need that within yourself because you need to feel better than the more learned. You know what I mean? And the more the people who have more experience. You need to think you know better. Anyway. Let's you and I talk about how we know better, how we know better, and what we would do. And if they just listened to us, everything would be great. No, that's one of the things, is that I've never been comfortable being somebody who thinks I know better. I say this as somebody who wrote a wrestling column for a decade where I was criticized storylines, but that, there's a line between being a critic and being like, I know better. And I'm not saying like they should do this. Or,
you're saying I didn't like that.
I'm just saying this sucks. Yeah, this sucks. Okay. No Way Home. I am phenomenally excited about this movie, as it is Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I love this iteration of Spider-Man in particular. And this was the miracle movie that they tricked us into thinking wasn't going to happen very briefly and then gave it back to us.
Wasn't going to happen quite in this way. I'm so curious if the MCU, if Marvel Studios and Sony hadn't worked their shit out, they still could have done a version of this movie without Doctor Strange. And I'm curious if they would have, if they would have still had him meet characters from the other Spider-Man movies. That still was on the table. And considering they did Into the Spider-Verse, I think they might have, but this is the version we want.
Okay. No Way Home. It seems like, a wish gone awry, a magic spell gone awry. I know that it borrows from, it seems to borrow a lot from the One More Day arc, and mixed with actual Peter Parker's unmasking that happened during the comics version of Civil War, which is very different than the actual MCU version of Civil War, which involves like superheroes having to reveal their true identities to the government. And Peter Parker does it, then he regrets it, then he makes deals, and things go awry for him. And the funny thing about this is that this storyline actually does in the comics include Mephisto. So if anyone wanted to wag their Mephisto finger at people, I'd hate to have a Mephisto finger. But anyway, if anyone wants to wag the Mephisto finger, it would be this storyline. And I've already seen, people obviously dig and dive into this trailer like, Doctor Strange isn't really Doctor Strange, it's Mephisto or a variant or whatever. And the first thing I think of is like, that's all possible, but it would be so weird for another Spider-Man movie to feature prominent MCU characters who weren't themselves.
Right. I agreed. And I also think the two things, I'll probably say more than two, but there's a couple of things people should keep in mind who are like, oh, something's off, it can't be Doctor Strange, is that being arrogant and fucking up is a Marvel hero trait through and through.
And a Stephen Strange trait in particular.
Trait through and through. And also, of course, a trailer is a trailer, and they're going to show you the most truncated version. We're not getting all the details on how he decides to do this, what the caveats are that he mentions going in. We're just getting the trailer version. So, I think that people, yes, could it be that's not really Stephen Strange? Sure, but I think it's just as likely, if not more likely, it is him fucking up.
Whether it is or it isn't, all we know is like Wong's fucking out of there. He's like, but see ya, I've got an Airbnb in Antarctica I got to get to.
Wong is ghosting, yeah.
So, but then also like I get the feeling from that trailer that you know, we hear the goblin cackle and see the bomb. And then we actually see the full Melina,
Yeah.
which sounds dirtier than it is.
Sure.
With his "Hey everyone, it's the new Jan Brady" hair. That, you know, there's never going to be anything quite perfect about de-aging someone. Though Marvel was doing it pretty well for a while.
I meant to tweet this, and I probably still will, Matt. That I saw your tweet, and you weren't the only one to mention the hair. That I was one of those things. I'm like, oh, I guess that's a wig, but I hadn't even thought about it. Like it wasn't something that I'd clocked.
It stood out to me, but I don't give a shit. And then, but I get the feeling that that's like a midpoint action part of the movie. Like that's not the climax of the movie. Him meeting all these different Spider-Man villains and different Spider-Man, assumedly too, like, or presumably. I think that this is, you know, people are wondering if there's a glimpse of the Lizard very quickly in the dark, and then other people are like, is that Matt Murdock's hairy arm? Like in the scene where he's like in a police interrogation room and he's talking to a lawyer whose head you can't see because it's off screen. So is that Matt Murdock? And then people are also,
it might be talking to a lawyer. It just could be another cop though too. So
yeah, it could be Detective Harry Arm, Detective Harry Armborn.
Harry Armbar.
Armbar. So, and then what was the one more thing? Oh yeah. So I feel like it's a tip of the iceberg trailer that still contains a lot of stuff that, you know, broader people who aren't on Twitter all the time and aren't following the internet, you know, I was really excited. We have so many things spoiled for us just because of our jobs, but like just imagining putting myself in the shoes of somebody watching this trailer with fully fresh eyes, not knowing that Melina's in it at all. Well, they would have just fucking shit themselves into a tornado. That would have been awesome. Like sometimes I'm so jealous of people who weren't locked into this cyber prison,
which is still going to be the majority of people, you know, and then almost even more so, people are going to fucking lose it when they see Keaton is back as Batman, because most people out there in the world don't know that. Like they're not following the news, and they'll see probably a DC fandom. They'll drop the first trailer that actually shows Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne or Batman again, and people will lose it. But yeah, people definitely watch the Spider-Man trailer, and for the first time, probably with Shang-Chi next weekend, be like, holy shit. That's the guy from Spider-Man 2 20 years ago.
And I think you commented this on made this remark on Twitter, which is that it feels also like a trailer that's very manipulative, not only in the way that its scenes are cut together to make you think certain characters are talking to each other at certain points where when we watch the movie they won't be, but also like Marvel's just digitally removed or digitally changed things in trailers before anyway. So like sometimes we might be seeing Tom Holland and it's a different Spider-Man. Like we don't know what we're seeing is real. We don't know. Like
they've specifically manipulated the Spider-Man movie trailers. Even if you want to go back to Civil War, where they removed him from Team Iron Man in the early trailers, so you didn't see that he was with them until they decided, they revealed him in like the second or third trailer, but early on he wasn't in the group shots that he is in the movie. And then the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer had that shot of Iron Man flying through the city with Spider-Man swinging alongside him. That was a shot made for the trailer, didn't happen in the movie. And then Far From Home, they swapped his suit. They didn't want to reveal that he's wearing the Iron Spider suit when he was doing the benefit with Aunt May, and they made it look like he was wearing the red and blue, the traditional suit. So these Spider-Man trailers, I trust nothing.
I love that they're what. I just love that Marvel is such a fucking liar about all of this. I love it. Like that they're fully like Chris Jericho in an interview, like, I'm not going to be there at the event. And then he's like, he's there. Like, or just like superhero actors lying about being cast as the superheroes. Like this isn't a court of law. We're not owed the truth in any regard. Like, like the truth is a privilege, not a right. Like nobody's like, I can't like somebody, I don't know, be arrested for taking Spider-Man out of Civil War trailer. Like they can do whatever they want. Yes. Okay. Strange, and yes, Doctor Strange is super pompous. So I didn't have an issue with him possibly, just based on the trailer, being one of the big reasons for this entire problem in the first place. Okay.
Last thing I want to say, I'm hyped for this movie. It looks really fun, really cool. I think there's way more than we're seeing so far, which is really exciting. And clearly they're teasing stuff and people are already like, and I think that you're like, is that Sandman? That the electricity is probably Electro, because Jamie Foxx revealed he was in the movie and then deleted his Instagram after he was asked to, clearly. But also I want to say the first half was kind of cool because the first half is just the fallout from the last movie and his identity being revealed.
It looks like it. I mean, it looks like he gets arrested like immediately.
Yeah. Like him and MJ are up on the bridge and it looks like he gets arrested. And I saw some people surmising maybe they figure out he isn't a murderer, but now he still has the issue of his
everyone
identity
know who he is.
Right? Yeah.
That would bug me, the Fox News element of all of it, if like he had to constantly try to keep convincing people he didn't kill Mysterio and that Mysterio wasn't a good person. Like, right. I hope that gets figured out within the first 5 or 10 minutes, because if not, I'm going to be super pissed through a lot of that movie. Like,
right. But another thing I want to say is that it's like I think I understand a criticism about the MCU Spidey movies, which I love, and I think Holland is great, and I love the tone and the feel, especially love Homecoming and just the vibe of it. I also understand where people say like that each of these movies is really going so hard on it's part of the MCU of it, that it's like he's not truly getting a full solo movie, because the first one had Iron Man, the second one had Nick Fury, even with the reveal at the end, Samuel L. Jackson was prominent throughout the movie, has quote unquote Nick Fury, and now this one has Doctor Strange. And it is one of the funny things is if Sony wasn't involved, it's like, oh, it would have just be Tom Holland, Spider-Man on his own. But at the same time, they've done a really good job of building up his supporting cast and his friends and loved ones.
But those are the best. Like Winter Soldier is a Cap, Black Widow introducing Falcon movie. Like right. I don't need a solo movie. Like I think some of the best things they've done have been, they're not a full two-hander, but like they, put more people in the movie. It doesn't have to be just because it says Thor. It doesn't have to be. Even Thor: The Dark World was a Thor Loki movie. Really. And
I guess I think people overstate the complaint as my main point at the end, because it's like he does have a fully realized this movie version of Peter Parker Spider-Man has a fully realized supporting cast. Like I don't feel like, oh, we don't know these people. Like we know Ned and MJ and May. We know them very well. So
oh my god, what if the Bettys meet? Like what what if like some of the supporting people meet what if the Mays meet? The meeting of the Mays.
The meeting of the Mays. I already said
she's like, why are you praying all the time? Like why are you so weirdly religious in these Spider-Man
I said the Gwen Corps, they could have a Haley Steinfeld in live action, they could have Emma Stone, and they could have Bryce Dallas Howard show up.
I want Tomei to go to the other May and be like, why did you talk Peter into giving up his life to be Spider-Man again at the end of Spider-Man 2? Like just because the little kid next door was sad. Like why did you like say you don't get to follow your dreams, Peter? You have to make little, Steven here put a smile on his face because he's helping me move. Okay. Very quickly with the rest of this news, because it's not actually something to dive into, which is that Cobra Kai, which isn't slated to come back until December for its 4th season, has already been picked up for a season 5, which is some good news for those who have watched and enjoyed Cobra Kai, like Eric and myself. And also Netflix-wise, I don't know when's the last time they saved a show?
Probably Lucifer, which I was going to mention.
Because they gave
Warner Brothers, same
2
company.
more seasons, 3. I can't remember.
I kind of want to tie this into talking about Cobra Kai as well, but Lucifer was given 2, but then given ended up with 3 more because it was such a huge hit for them. They wanted more. They did 4 and 5, and then they said we want more, and they had to read. It was again they're so secretive with their numbers, but I was like, well, Lucifer is clearly a huge hit for them because they worked really hard to make that 6th season happen, because he wasn't even under contract anymore. Tom Ellis, the star, so they had to sign him again and work all this stuff out. And so it seems like that was a huge hit for them. And
they'll throw money. They're in their spend money to lose money phase. So they'll just throw money at everyone.
But it goes to show you with Manifest. I don't know if you finished your thought about.
No, I didn't announce that it was Manifest I was going to talk about, but yeah. With Cobra Kai having been saved from YouTube Red, and then Lucifer from Fox, Manifest, which was canceled after 3 seasons, and as I understand, ended with cliffhangers, has been saved by Netflix and given a final season that's 20 episodes, so like almost a full network season,
which is really
like that's really 2 seasons.
It's 2 seasons. They're gonna 100%. Netflix doesn't put up 20 episodes at once. That is just this happened on network a lot too. Like, people have talked about how once you got into shows like Breaking Bad, like splitting the season, it was all to save money. It was all to stop it from considered being another season where people's salaries go up for another season. So I think with Manifest, they kind of understood, like, the show is being saved. We want to give closure. It's such a huge hit for Netflix that they want to be able to have basically 2 seasons. But
so it's weird. Okay, so Manifest is very Lost-like, which is fun. You don't find a lot of shows that are still trying to jump onto the success of Lost here in 2020, 2021. Like, this show has been 3 seasons of a mystery box type Abrams series that we were used to like 10 years ago, about a flight 828 that was flying from the Caribbean back to the mainland USA. And when some phenomenon happens in the air. When they land, they realize everyone's been missing for like 5 years. It's kind of like a really mini version of Thanos' snap. And they come back and they have to figure out what happened to them, reacclimate to society. Everyone's different. And so they're getting 20 more episodes to wrap this up. In the press release, it's interesting that, like, they say that the show has had great numbers since its premiere on the subscription service back in June. That's 2 months ago. People were catching up on a canceled cliffhanger show.
So the timeline here, as I understand it, is that it debuted on Netflix. The first 2 seasons came on Netflix right before NBC was making its decision whether to renew it or not. So almost simultaneously, 2 things happened. It came on Netflix and was out of the gate like Netflix's most viewed show. And then a week or 2 later, NBC canceled it because for them, the numbers weren't good enough to keep it going. So it was this kind of strange, perfect storm of that happening. And the interesting thing that I think it was Deadline or someone a couple weeks ago was talking about when it was coming close to this deal happening was Netflix turned it down at the time. NBC canceled it. And because it was doing so well on Netflix, there was talk, maybe it can be saved and maybe Netflix will save it. And Netflix said no. And then it kept being their number 1 show. For weeks and weeks and weeks,
even after it was canceled. So people watching it on Netflix probably had. So
and
here's
watching
the thing.
Season 3 on Hulu, by the way,
Right.
They didn't have the 3rd season; they had the first 2.
It's so weird that it's like considering, like, we're talking about people who don't spend all their time buried inside this cyber gulag of entertainment news on Twitter and social media. But like, people watching it are like, do they even know it's not a Netflix show? Do they know it was on NBC? Do they know?
All the time, people don't understand that things that they see on Netflix aren't Netflix shows. So I guarantee you a large percentage of the people who became huge Manifest fans in the last couple months.
And then the fact that they were even able to somehow follow it to Hulu's for season 3, because there's nothing at the end of season 2 on Netflix. It's like, for season 3, head over to Hulu. Like,
no. And I was on Hulu looking for something else, and I saw that one of the most searched things on Hulu was Manifest.
So literally, they're like, is there more? And everyone went to other sites searching for Manifest,
right,
and found it. Anyway, it's coming back. It's just an interesting phenomenon. It's not a show I've watched, but it's a show that has surprisingly survived 3 seasons on network TV as a serialized supernatural show, which is something that's not easy to do these days. If you ask anyone, they don't even know that these types of shows really exist on network TV anymore outside of the CW, because most everything is like the Chicago verse. It's really Dr. Lawyer Cop Fireman or on TV, like whether it's CBS or NBC or a lot of that stuff, or reality shows or game shows. Okay.
But also it also goes, the one thing I wanted to mention with the Cobra Kai and thinking about Lucifer of it all is like, you're in a really great place, and it is more and more rare now, right? Because Netflix is not, they're quote unquote out of the saving shows business. So now it's very infrequent this happens. But again, the perfect timing happened here with Manifest to make it happen. But Cobra Kai, Lucifer went 6 seasons in totality. So Netflix only paid for 3 of those. So, but that's your perfect thing these days for people that are, upset with Netflix because they cancel almost everything by season 3, maybe season 4, is like your perfect situation is if you're a Lucifer or Cobra Kai, because then you're going to get 5 or 6 seasons, because Cobra Kai is clearly a big hit for them too. Again, just what does it seem like? It seems like Cobra Kai is a big hit for them, and I bet it gets 6 seasons. I bet they order 1 more after especially because Netflix didn't have to pay for season 3. You know, they paid to air it, but it was produced.
Man, if only they could just create their own great shows after Stranger Things and not get like their biggest hits from other networks and save them.
Because their most viewed things often are still these network shows. So it's like, this is almost the perfect scenario for them when these things work.
Maybe they just do that. They just take canceled other things. Okay. Very quickly, because we still have emails and good things to enjoy and Girl on the Third Floor, and you have to go watch Heat. So Louis Goose, I don't think we brought this up, but because we've talked about the Netflix series Wednesday, the Addams Family series with the character of Wednesday Addams as the main character being done by Tim Burton. I don't think we mentioned that Louis Guzman has been cast as Gomez and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia, because that was a few weeks ago. Those were announced. Then they announced a bunch of new characters with new actors. The only one that stands out to me right now is Thora Birch from a movie you previously recommended called Ghost World. Also from last season on The Walking Dead. Also from American Beauty and a lot of other things where we thought she'd be a bigger star than she would be. She had some weird issues with sort of a controlling, abusive father who was also her manager, I believe.
Yeah. That
sort of really kneecapped her career, but now it seems like she's back and doing things. So she'll be on the Wednesday show. Everyone else, no one's name. But these are like 10 characers. But like
Ricky Lindholm, I know. And you would know her too.
She was in Knives Out. Who was she in Knives Out?
She is Ricky Lindholm is a comedic actress. She has a musical, Garfunkel and Oates. She has that musical comedic duo.
Is she one a Garfunkel or Oates? Yeah, I know her.
With Kate Micucci. Am I saying her name right? Yeah. So yeah, you totally know her if you saw her. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Okay. Moving on. Let's go to our socials. Taking care of business here. You can find us on Twitter at the Matt Fowler, the Eric Goldman. We Enjoy Podcast. You can join our Patreon for $2 a month. You can get a commercial-free version of this podcast. You can also write us little notes. And you can also write us little notes via email on weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. So the first message comes to us from Joey on Patreon, who writes, "Hey guys, I've been having fun watching the Candyman series. Candyman 2 is the most scared that I've ever been by a movie in my entire life." Now, when I was reading that, Eric, I was like, really? And then it took the next sentence to clue me in. I watched it in the second grade at a sleepover. And when I was like, it was the scariest movie as an adult? No, it was when he was in second grade. Okay. I watched it in the second grade at a sleepover. And when it was over, we went to the bathroom mirror in the dark and said Candyman 5 times. Well, my friends did. I said Candyman twice and then promptly left. I probably was just scared of finding out that I'm the great nephew of Caroline and that I have to die so that we can be a family again. Anyway, I'm glad Eric is going to also start watching AEW more regularly. They have some really good young talent, and hopefully they put the women's title on Chris Statlander someday. Well, maybe they will a week from Sunday at All Out when she faces Britt Baker, Joey. Also, I like to think that Joey did not say Candyman 5 times because you and I have established, as we've established on the podcast, that's a lot of times to say Candyman.
It's a lot.
Yeah, saying it 5 times is a lot of times to say.
I think it helps if you have people with you because at least you can switch off.
Okay.
One pause there just to say that Ricky Lindholm was. I think she had barely any lines, but she was Michael Shannon's wife in Knives Out when you were asking.
Okay. Jaiman writes in on Patreon as well. Hi, Matt and Eric. After watching 3 Candyman movies, I think it's finally time to get off the bench and talk about it. When you guys started with this franchise, I didn't know what to think about it. In parentheses, seems to be a theme for me. I thought that it was going to be more of a slasher than it actually was. Therefore, the first movie caught me off guard. When the second movie rolled around, I understood it more and it made me like the movie more than the original. Sadly, Candyman 3 lost me. From the shift in culture to the constant retconning of the story, it just became a bit too much. Yeah, it turns out the bad movie lost him.
You're not the only one.
That being said, I'm looking forward to the Jordan Peele iteration of the story. Hopefully, I can get someone to come to the theater with me because there's no way I'm seeing that movie by myself. Thanks again for introducing me to an interesting piece of cinema. Is this Shelley? It's interesting. Kneelift and Shakma. P.S. I got my hands on a PS5. Humble brag, I know, which came with a 6 months of Apple TV Plus. So now I can finally watch all the shows Eric has recommended. I wanted to tell you too that on the plane trip to see out to LA this past weekend, on Americans, whatever. I don't know. They have deal with Apple or whatever. But I watched 2 episodes of Central Park, Eric, and it is very funny.
Well, last I knew you'd only watch one, so that's great.
Yeah, I did. I watched one on the way there, and I watched one on the way back, and they only had two on the docket, so that's all I could do.
That's great. What is the name? I'm sorry. What was the name of the person whose message you just read?
That was Jaiman.
Jaiman. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, I read someone this week. I'm sorry, forgetting who, but someone wrote this week about Candyman that. Even though, of course, there's some slasher movie elements to Candyman, and he certainly gets listed with like slasher movie characters, but he's more conceptually like a universal monster, like a tragic like figure, and there's obviously a lot of romance to him. So yeah, there's slasher elements to him, but he kind of crosses over into gothic horror and more of like a tragic side of it. And we'll talk obviously next week about the new one and how it goes even more into the real life stuff that it connects to. So interesting character indeed, as my dad would say.
Interesting. I like it. It's interesting. During the middle of the movie, hey, yes. I like this movie, points to the screen. It's interesting. Michael has written into us via email. I wanted to email you with some harebrained theories I have. Oh boy. Okay. The most harebrained is that all of the characters that Bob Shaye played.
I hope it's not about eating horse dewormer to stop COVID.
Yeah, or horse rewormer.
Yes.
The most harebrained is that all of the characters that Bob Shaye played in the Elm Street movies are the same person. He's working his way through college in Freddy's Revenge. He's using his degree in the Dream Master, and he's the principal in Freddy versus Jason. The less harebrained theory is that with the new Candyman, the main character might be Jake from the original. I would say Anthony, but he's too old for that. I look forward to seeing what your thoughts are on Girl on the Third Floor. Maybe you can do Jacob's wife next. That way you can see CM Punk's glorious mustache. All right. I assume Jacob's wife is the follow-up Travis Stevens movie or something else.
Yes. It just came to Shudder, starring Barbara Crampton, who's great in it. Okay. But yes, we shouldn't talk about any of that yet because Candyman will be spoilers for a movie we've seen, and we haven't done the Elm Street movies yet. I'll just say I like that idea.
Okay,
but,
yeah. So those are both things.
People listening will go, "Who's Robert Shaye? Elm Street cameos? What do you mean?" But we will get to those movies at some point. I do promise that.
Okay, so let's do good things to enjoy really quickly here. I'll start. My good thing to enjoy this week is Castle Rock, a movie, a show that should have gotten more than 2 seasons on Hulu, sadly. But the 2 seasons that are there, I think are very good. I think I might have a few quibbles about the way the first season ended. But overall, I felt the entire 2 seasons of this show were very strong. I recommend this show highly. I also don't know how it fully plays to people who are not really all that familiar with the Stephen King verse. Which may have been its downfall ultimately. But for those who like most of Stephen King's stories, his biggest hits, and those who are deeply immersed in the King verse, I think this is a great series full of, I think it's just really well done, creepy stories it is both, how would you describe it, Eric? I'm having trouble with my words here, but it's a mixtape of Stephen King that also takes place in the main where Stephen King stories have happened. So yeah, it involves characters from these books, but in a different chronology than the books may present them, and also interacting in ways with other Stephen King stories. And so it's a reimagining of some Stephen King stories, and yet it's in a world where others have taken place.
Right, because all of Stephen King's books takes place in the same universe. When I was a kid, this was hugely appealing to me in my comic book universe loving mind, that it's like they could sometimes they'd casually mention the events of another one about that crazy stuff that happened in Derry or whatever. Sometimes a supporting character from one book would be the main character in another, or vice versa. Lots of crossovers happen throughout in a way that in the movies they can never do because the movie rights have been split up to a million studios. Castle Rock, first of all, had the most rights that they could actually use legally, and they could also lightly reference some other stuff. But like you're saying, Matt, it was not 100% being like all the books happened and this is following it, because sometimes it was clearly changing things dramatically. I mean, here's an example: is the fact that Ace the villainous Ace from The Body, aka Stand By Me,
played by
in the show,
Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah,
but modern day. Because when I heard Ace was going to be in the show, I thought, oh, they're going to do flashbacks, or he's going to be an old man. But no, they just have it that he wasn't a teenager in the 50s, versus some other things where there's like references to Shawshank Redemption that just could have happened when that story was set.
right. And also it's like Ace could have still been a part of the Stand By Me story. It's just that story wouldn't have taken place in the era then. And if we're following the It storyline too in the new movies, which takes place in the 80s, just based on the new movies, that's already a different era than the book took place in. So so it plays around with it, but I think it does a really great job of combining King mythology, offering up really new fun things and then also performances from like Lizzie Kaplan as Annie Wilkes in season 2. So this is a younger version of Annie Wilkes from the Misery story,
right,
that intermixes with this show's version of the Salem's Lot story. So this is a new take on Salem's Lot that is not saying Salem's Lot already happened like it did in Stephen King's book. This is our take on it. Yet the Annie Wilkes character is a prequel version of the character we meet in Misery.
Right.
And there's a hint that she could eventually play out the stuff that happens in Misery. But like we talked about on the Cruella episode, where these are just different takes on characters that don't necessarily need to connect to the thing that we already know.
Not one-to-one, yeah.
Right, exactly. So if you view it as like, this is not a one-to-one with Misery, this is just a different spin on everything. It is absolutely amazing. And then
very similar to Bates Motel, which we talked about.
Oh, Bates Motel is so good. We should talk about that at some point too. But yeah, Bates Motel was interesting because it started out saying and believing and acting like it was more of a prequel than it turned out to be. By the middle of that series, I think they were like, look, we're just going to tell our own Psycho here.
Right.
Very differently than the movies. It is not meant to connect to the caboose of Psycho. You know what I mean? And whereas I think when it started out, it was meant to be. But it also has some Stephen King movie alum like Sissy Spacek and Tim Robbins, along
Skarsgård.
with Bill Skarsgård, and then also Scott Glenn plays is he Alan Pangborn? Like we're talking about characters from King stories who have been in several books.
He's the third Alan Pangborn after Michael Rooker in The Dark Half and Ed Harris in Needful Things. Every generation gets their own Spider-Man, Batman, and Pangborn.
and Alan Pangborn. Yeah, yes. It's basically over in England. It's like everyone gets a new Doctor Who, Sherlock Holmes, and King Arthur, and here it's Alan Pangborn and Spider-Man. So our American heroes.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, I highly recommend Castle Rock.
Really good show that amusingly, this is where we're at. I've talked often. We'll talk about things that you might recommend something and I'll be like, I watched the first 2 episodes and really liked it and haven't gone back. I am 90% sure, Matt, I've seen all of Castle Rock except the final episode.
No.
So I'm gonna go see if I'm right.
And Elsie Fisher is in season 2. Also, I would say that there are a couple of those, and it's like when we used to watch Lost, and there'd just be these standout, very focused episodes. So season 1 has an episode called The Queen, which was a very standout episode that featured Sissy Spacek's character in a very interesting and engaging way, and it was a hit with critics and stuff like that. And likewise, season 2 had a big Annie Wilkes flashback episode that I can't remember the name of, but it was also very good, and was basically featured yet a third actress playing Annie Wilkes as a teenager, that I remember being very good. Okay, what is your good thing to enjoy? That's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original, and it's still on Hulu. I agree with Matt's pick, and then mine is a brand new movie that it opened last week and is in theaters as I'm speaking, although it bombed and is quickly going to be leaving theaters. So the way things work these days, it might be on VOD within the month. But The Night House is what I'm recommending, which I went into almost blind, except that I knew that it was a bomb that I knew people really loved. Perfect, my kind of movie. But this Night House stars Rebecca Hall, who for U.S. audiences mostly probably know her from Iron Man 3, because that was her big mainstream movie, although she's done a lot of other things, but mostly kind of character stuff and small dramas and costume dramas and whatnot. But she's the star of The Night House.
which is directed by David Bruckner, and I've not seen his other work. One day I need to watch VHS, the anthology that he did a part of, because Adam Wingard got started on that. A lot of people who got started have gone on to successful careers, did segments for VHS. But he did that. He did The Ritual. I haven't seen those movies. This is my first David Bruckner, but I was very impressed by it. The basic setup is Rebecca Hall is a school teacher living with her husband at an absolutely gorgeous and unattainable movie house, which is this gorgeous lakeside house that in the story, her husband built it himself. And that he one day shot himself. He took their little boat out they had on the lake and he shot himself. And for her, it was a total shock. Nothing seemed wrong. He seemed fine. Everything was fine. And now he did this. And now she's all by herself in the big spooky horror movie house. And things start to happen. She starts to have these nightmares. She starts to see things around. And it becomes this sort of creepy ghost story, or is it? What exactly is happening? And it's definitely true. People have talked about how, Rebecca Hall, first of all, she is freaking phenomenal. Like
we just saw her in Godzilla versus Kong. So
that's right. Yeah, I forgot she was in another big hit movie this year. But she is so fantastic in this. It's the kind of performance that if the Academy Awards could acknowledge just like horror movies more, she would get nominated for, like Florence Pugh in Midsummer and Toni Collette in Hereditary. Just an absolutely fantastic performance because she's playing a couple different things, which is first and foremost, there is a part of this movie where you could remove the entire like ghost story thing. And it's just this woman who is just had this horrible thing happen to her and is grief stricken and numb and doesn't know how to react to what's happened. And she's so good at that. And then it's a scary ghost story and she has to just be terrified. And she's great in that. I found this movie absolutely terrifying at parts. I saw this by myself in a theater with only a few other people because it's a bomb.
You should have gone with Jaimin. He's looking for someone to watch a scary movie.
Should have gone with Jaimin. Sorry, Jaimin. I would have invited you. I was definitely very scared at parts of this movie. The sound design is phenomenal. I see some people who there's like a whole thing of like, are jump scares cheap? All I know is if they're done well, they're great. And this movie has a couple of absolutely fantastic ones. I loved it. It doesn't have a good ending. And that's always a thing where it's like, Matt and I have talked a lot about whether, where we are able more than other people, I think. I'm not saying this is like, amazing us, because I think it's just different.
I think it's amazing us. Good for us.
Because this movie has a disappointing ending, and I can see people walking out of it then being like, oh, that was lame because the ending's not great. But this movie in its totality is great. So even though I wish the ending was a little different, I feel like it's a little abrupt. They could have done a little more. They should have explained a couple things more. When I think back on this movie, I was like, man, I was sitting there terrified and loving this performance. So I absolutely think it's worth seeing. Just, go in expecting maybe you won't love the ending as much as the rest of the movie. That's okay. It's a tiny cast. It's a low budget movie. Besides, the two other most notable people in it are Sarah Goldberg, who you'll know from Barry, if you watch Barry, and you should because it's great, plays her best friend and fellow teacher, and Vondi Curtis Hall, who's been in a million things. People know him as Ben Urich on Daredevil, plays her neighbor. But it's basically about her and these people in her life that feel bad for her and what she's lost. And what happens here. Anyway, Bruckner is directing Hellraiser, the new Hellraiser, and this made me instantly much more excited for the new Hellraiser because I loved what he did with this.
And, a long time ago, over a decade ago, I watched The Signal. So I have seen a Bruckner film.
Okay.
I don't remember much of it. I remember it was episodic. I remember everyone goes crazy, but not much more. How are you on time? I'm actually going to time check here on the podcast.
No, I'm good. I mean, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I have to leave within an hour or so, and I
don't think we're talking about Girl on the Third Floor for an hour. But who knows us? When we're involved,
don't make any promises.
I can't. Yeah. Now that I say that, okay. Full spoilers for Girl on the Third Floor. Next week, it's the Beep Bop with the shoes and the thing and the guy with Kurt Russell on Disney Plus.
The computer wore tennis shoes.
The computer wore tennis shoes.
In 2 weeks. We'll be talking about
2 weeks.
But this is your reminder that we'll be talking Candyman 2021 on a special one-off episode next week if you are able to see that before we discuss it.
Or if you just want to listen to it and get spoiled.
Sure.
Have everything spoiled for you. The reason also we're doing the computer who wore the shoes with the guy is that Kurt Russell, we'll talk about this too next time when we're talking about him more directly, he's been a movie star his entire life. Like he was a kid actor who never stopped being in things. Like there's really no full career slump for this guy.
He never has really had to make a comeback because he's always doing stuff. Yeah.
How can we miss you if you don't go away? But yeah, he's like, since he was, because even this movie, he was doing stuff earlier than this one. So he was a Disney kid too, like we talk about the Mickey Mouse Club players of our generation, but like he was a Disney kid earlier. Okay. So Girl on the Third Floor. Eric had seen it. I had not. Eric, I did not get a chance because you sent it to me like 2 minutes to go. Your CM Punk interview that you did for Fandom about this movie.
It was him and Stevens together.
Him and Stevens, the director. So yeah, I don't have that insight that you have.
How dare you? How
dare me for not being able to speed read while you pee? Okay, Girl on the Third Floor. So a couple things. First, the first thing I want to bring up, this is a very Shining-esque movie. If The Shining were fully focused on Jack Torrance like the whole time, kind of, without a wife and kid mussing about to sort of distract him. But like, this is a movie where we get Jack Torrance without the cutaways, where it's like we see the wife, we see the kid, and then we cut back to Jack, and he's gone even more mad for some reason, for things that we haven't seen happen. Now we spend the whole time with Dawn, yes, played by Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, in this movie, and I think that sort of helps it stand out a bit. And also helping it stand out is the fact that it is super oozy, gloppy, sloppy, slimy. There's drippings and messings and oils and orifices and just
very
gloppy. Gooey. Yeah. In not in sort of a Evil Dead 2 slapsticky way. There's spraying, there's coating, there's just a lot of goop. This came to us very quickly, or to my brain very quickly last week when we were very tired in a hotel room and saying like, what should we do for the main event? And because we had just watched CM Punk return on AEW, I was like this. And then I realized going into this, we've done a lot of horror in a row, which is also maybe why we're actually starting the Kurt Russell chunk with a Disney teen movie he did instead of some of his like harder horror or thriller action movies. Because yeah, this is not a Candyman movie, but this is still horror. And, maybe just people want a palate cleanser from that. Here's another thing. When a professional wrestler who I think when we think of the people who are top of their game in the ring, but also on the mic, who are very charismatic and can cut a promo with very little notes, memorization, can just do it on the fly and are just very engaging with the crowd in a way that a lot of other wrestlers can't be. When they shift over to movies, because it doesn't happen too often, but like when you get a headliner or a top tier wrestler who makes that shift over to movies, the first instinct, I think, for all involved is that they become an action hero. And so The Rock started as an action hero, Cena started as an action hero, and it's just really interesting. And even Batista, and between the three of them, it's so interesting to see that their true ascension came from comedy. Like it wasn't until The Rock hosted SNL and had a bit part in Be Cool that people were like, oh, this guy is actually good. He can do more things.
Right.
And then until Cena got Trainwreck and started getting comedic roles, which he's far, far better at than the Marine or 12 Rounds. So and think about Batista and Drax, right?
Yep.
Like this guy can be fucking funny. These are really charismatic people. I don't know of another wrestler who started doing horror though. Like, I think that's an interesting
Not
shift.
counting things WWE has produced, like
like Kane, like See No Evil or something, or
Hornswoggle in the Leprechaun movie. Yes, as far as like a wrestler just branching out on their own, not tied to WWE as a machine, deciding to do horror. But of course, it speaks to Punk both as someone who wants to go against the grain, but also is just a massive horror fan.
I think also he likes to, and we know this, I think, challenge himself hugely. Like, I'm going to do something so crazy that I'm either going to succeed or fail spectacularly, because this is a challenging role. He's not just like the headliner of this movie. He's in it a lot by himself. And I don't know, an actor will have to tell me. I feel like if I had to do acting, gun to my head, there's a situation, act like someone's threatening my life. Go ahead, fucking act. I would much rather be in a scene with somebody with dialogue, somebody to react off of, than to do a lot of it by myself. Like that's really challenging, isn't it? Like reacting to sounds that aren't there, or having to talk to a dog or something like that. Like I feel like that's even harder than doing scenes with people.
Well, I'm sure he liked talking to the dog because we know he loves his dog, Larry. But there are times where he just has to talk to himself, which, is never going to be a natural thing. People do it in the movies all the time. But it's like one of those very tricky things.
I'm just saying it's a lot to pick a movie where you're the lead, but and another to be like, it's just me.
It's like
for most of the movie.
It's just, yeah.
So I thought he did a really great job with
absolutely
reacting to like not much at all, like sounds that were added in Foley, like afterward.
No, completely agree. Because it is, such a hyper-focused movie. I mean, I want to talk about the third act in a bit because it's actually very dramatically different and interesting for that reason. The one thing I think that, you're mentioning The Shining, and it's certainly like there's any echo of like a story about someone who goes to a place and how it's sort of affecting them. And The Shining, of course, this is the huge split that the issue King has with the movie, with Kubrick's movie, is that for him, The Shining is a story about a good man who goes to this place that changes him, that like makes him snap. Whereas he feels like Nicholson playing that role feels like a guy who's already on the edge who goes further. The Girl on the Third Floor, though, is very much about someone who is a bad person who will be punished by this place.
But I think Kubrick's version isn't like Nicholson on the edge. I think, regardless of what King wrote in his pages, Nicholson's Jack Torrance is a bad person. He's an alcoholic who abuses his son. He broke his son's arm. Like he is a physically abusive father who is not a great person. Right. He is trying to better himself, but how much is he actually trying to do that? And how much is he resentful of his family because of it? And like so how he differs from, because again, going into something like Dr. Sleep, that character still remain, that the echoes of an abusive father remain. So whether or not how Dr. Sleep was written as a King book and Danny's relationship to his father, I can't tell you, but like, I think it's even more similar to Dawn, which is that, I don't think Jack Torrance in the movie was a good person either. Like he wasn't like conning people out of money, but he was doing something like you could say is so much physically and traumatically worse than that.
Yeah, but I
guess Don's not like beating his kid, like.
Yeah. I'll save more talk about Jack Torrance for when we do those two movies because I'm determined we will. But I'll just say that like one of in my interview with them, I named one of like the little subheads like Don's a douche because that's the thing they were saying. They were like they were unequivocally while promoting this movie. They're like, this is a movie about a bad person who, because we're portraying him as the protagonist and because he's on his own, we might think, oh, he's in trouble. Hope he can make it through this. But instead, it's just a gradual, like he defrauded people. He cheated on his wife. He is openly cheating on his wife again when given the chance.
But also it's with a ghost. So I feel like he should get a pass. Like, honestly, I think there is a little wiggle room when it's like when you're you're Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters getting a blowjob from the Phantom.
He did not know she was a ghost girl.
It doesn't matter like what it turned. Anyway, so I was also very happy that Trieste Kelly Dunn, who I know from Banshee, she was on that show for a few seasons, actually did manifest as a full person and not just a face on a phone. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes when we talk about the end of the movie. But it's a very solo movie where this guy he is and he isn't. He's making the wrong choices, but he's also not realizing
you love Don. You think he's great.
He's my hero. No, Don. I don't know why also Don is decided that he's going to do this house himself. It's not really stated except that he wants to prove something to her, maybe, right? His wife.
Yeah. I mean, you could also presume that if he just got, through a court case that he, skated by on, but he might money-wise be a little tighter.
I think right away we know Don's character, not because he's sleeping with the ghost, but because he literally brings a cooler of beer when he's promised not to drink.
Right.
So
right.
it's not even like a character moment where he sees a bottle and he's like, should I made a promise. It's like
Right.
he brings
It's
with
like,
him an
It's
entire
beer
stack.
o'clock. Yeah.
Good old Don. So yeah, it wasn't
It should
even
be
an
the thing
issue.
where he gets out of his car and there's like bottles fall out.
It's just like Uncle Buck.
There's very big inspiration for that.
Well, you know, Uncle Buck is in the same Chicago verse as Girl on the Third Floor.
Yes. I like that. It's very connected. But yeah, this because the movie, it makes it very explicit because we find out this thing about like people have lived in this house and nothing bad has happened to them. It's basically like the house is going to judge you. And so and then there's, it's funny because it's very, it's very on the nose, but the fact that straight men don't do so well in this house, so basically like these shitty men have come into this house, not all men, but they literally do say that like, if you're like a good person who's good to your family, you'll have a happy life in that house. But if you're a Don, the house will judge you, and
who drives up with a cooler full of beer after,
yes, yeah.
basically indicating
and
that
is tempted by the first ghost in a tight shirt. Then the house is gonna get gooey for you.
Oh, let's make this house gooey. Flip it or glop it. So he's redoing this old Victorian house, and right away there's a lot of balls in the wall. There's a lot of, unlike that, the song Balls to the Wall that Fozzy actually covered. What was the metal band that sang Balls to the Wall, Eric?
I don't remember. I remember that exists, but I don't remember who it is.
I feel like it was I don't want to. Okay, Extreme sang More Than Words, but I feel like it's a band that's like Extreme. Speaking of music, while I look up Balls to the Wall and who sang it, except that doesn't even sound like a cool metal band. Anyway, I should mention that I was very pleased to see that Steve Albini was part of making the score for this movie. Who is a very...
I thought that might please you, Matt.
Jesus Christ, I'm so predictable. Very famously, the producer behind the Breeders, PJ Harvey, but also the Pixies' Doolittle album. And the reason he produced Nirvana's In Utero is because Kurt Cobain loved Doolittle and wanted the guy who helped produce that. And similarly, Nirvana's Quiet Loud Quiet Sound, or Loud Quiet Loud, came from their love of the Pixies as well. Anyway, so, and then I also like I feel like some of the music Don was listening to was sort of like Punk infusing his own personality maybe into Don. Like, this is what I would listen to if I was drilling and hammering all day long.
Possibly. I mean, him and Travis Stevens, who didn't know each other prior to this, seem to be like very simpatico, like very like the same things on the same wavelength. So I think stuff like the music probably might have been conversations between the two of them.
Then how did since you've spoken to both of them, did you dig into like, is Stevens a huge wrestling fan, or how did the deal get cut here?
It's funny that I'm forgetting that part. I just remember that Punk was instantly interested when he saw that Stevens, this was his directorial debut, but he produced a lot, that he had produced the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, about the Dune.
Yeah.
And Punk loved that documentary. So that was, I can't remember why Travis Stevens wanted Punk, but I know that's why Punk wanted in.
Maybe Punk saw the documentary and it, manifested sort of a meeting between the two to talk about that. And then it led to other things. He's like, I'm doing a movie and it's in Chicago or Illinois. So Jodorowsky's Dune was I remember that was in the Netflix series Russian Doll, was the password to get into the speakeasy.
Oh my God, I had forgotten that.
Okay. So Don, King Don, as we learn he was later called, and we don't really fully know what's up with Don, like, until 2/3 of the way through the movie. Literally the third act, when Liz is explaining what Don's deal was, because we knew he cut a deal with the feds. We knew he was somebody who had some sort of past. At first, when that guy came over, I thought he was like, are they in witness protection? Like, I didn't understand what was happening. I just knew that he had a past and that he was kind of a shitheel, and was the side, and you also, I didn't know if he was like an alcoholic. So again, speaking to the shining of it all, we didn't realize that all he did was he told his wife he wouldn't drink. Maybe he was an alcoholic, but like, so when she's like sees the bottle in the background when he's talking to her on FaceTime, he's like, oh, that's just a lot of junk around here. So the first thing I had in my head was, oh, he has a drinking problem. And he's immediately drinking. And unlike The Shining, the house isn't making him do it yet. Like this is all from Don himself. He's like, it's like you said, it's Don o'clock, beer o'clock. So
it's what you bring into the house, and he brings in a lot of bad mojo.
And then so the balls in the wall keep rolling out at him, and so then everything heightens when the chick shows up, Sarah, right? Who is I don't know this actress. She's very Bridget Fonda like to me. Like,
you're right.
She kind of reminds me of
Sarah Brooks is the actress.
Sarah Brooks plays Sarah Yates, and she shows up as just somebody there. And I think it was only like their second meeting when they sleep together. Like all it takes is her going in the house. And good old Don's.
That's why I can't give Don the ghost excuse, because clearly he.
No, I understand he didn't know she's a fucking poltergeist. I'm saying like at the end, people who are listening to this hopefully have seen the movie, obviously. So at the end, when he's pleading with Liz, and we didn't at that point, Don's dead, and it's really Sarah in a Dawn suit. Pleading with Liz, it's like, I messed up, but it's like also like if that were really Dawn, he would be like, but you don't understand, she's a demon. Like, like if that were truly Dawn, he would be donning his way out of it. It's like she mesmerized me, she put a demon spell on me, etc., etc. So it's a couple things happen all at once. It's like he sleeps with Sarah, but he also discovers right before that that the bedroom on the floor comes with like a viewing section, bleachers, sort of, which seems really strange. And he shows it to her. Then they have sex. And even before that, he has a sex dream. Or is that after? Because he thinks it's his wife, but then it's a dream about her. Then it turns into her.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's before or after.
And then all of a sudden he's swallowing the balls in the wall. So like the house has got its grip on him.
I like how you say balls in the wall.
That's the alternate. That's the foreign title for this movie.
Right.
In the wall.
Les balls in le wall.
I like this movie quite a bit for a very small, one location, sort of pot boiler, slow burn movie. I think for me, and we're talking about horror movies sticking that landing when they're really vague and creepy for most of the movie, and then they give you the explanation at the end, and it's a little underwhelming, where it's like, yeah, okay, so there were these people that were in a brothel a long time ago and they were killed, and these are the ghosts. I'm like, that's, I don't know, maybe just I would have maybe even stood better with me if they didn't explain anything, really. Like, this is a fucking awful house with like a weird little girl with a messed up face and a guy in a bird mask and like things like that, which is where I feel like there's a little bit of the Shining element matriculating over from some of the like costuming and things that aren't explained. But then this movie explains them and it sort of deflates the balloon a little bit. That's just my take.
So I also enjoy this movie. I don't have those issues. I'm fine with them explaining it, and I do like how they talk about sort of the this dynamic with the church across the street and how they have this sort of this yin and yang, and neither of them can like pull people in, but they both kind of have this battle for people, this sort of silent battle. And I like the pastor, and I like that actor.
I do feel like the pastor was kind of like at the end saying like she can't warn anybody. I do, and that's part of the deal or game or something, right, where it's like, is that like literally a deal struck? Why she can't do it, or she's just made that decision where she's like letting the chips fall where they may. But so that wasn't fully clear to me, but I do understand the idea of like, I think it would have worked better, maybe better for me a little
Right,
bit
right.
if we had seen the inside of the church or gotten a little more from the pastor than just her showing up on the porch. Because like if Dawn had gone to visit her at some point in the church and we'd have gotten a little more physical viewing of the church so that we could make more of a scenic dichotomy there than just the idea there's a church across the street. Like we see it from the porch, but since it's so integral to the story come the ending, I feel like that it needed to have a little more physical presence in the story leading up to that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. Yeah, that didn't stick out to me as much. Movies like this, there's always those little things about like they're never gonna. The rules are always gonna be a little vague, and so I'm like, well, like why did like Milo, his friend, is murdered by Sarah, and I'm like, well, did Milo deserve to die? He seemed like a much more sympathetic character who seemed to want his friend to do.
They were also gonna kill Liz, but also it's like. She's not a bad person, but they were ready to kill her for being weak.
Right.
And like making a bad decision if she were to accept Dawn back into her life.
Maybe it's like Jigsaw. Maybe it's like Jigsaw, where
go
really far to stretch their rules.
It's like I'm going to teach you a lesson, but also at the expense of this innocent person,
right?
Who is right now in stirrups, and their legs are going to be ripped off if you don't do what I say.
But one thing I really like about the movie that is just because it's odd, but I think it's interesting is that as you talked about, it's very Don centric, and he's the only person on camera for a lot of the movie. And then the third act does something very unusual, which is he's killed. And the third act suddenly is about his wife, who
I like that a lot. So they
changed the perspective completely in that.
Whatever like quibbles I have about the explanations at the end, I really like the presentation of the movie, which is that you get to spend not only is he the lead character, but he is the lead, like he is the solo character for so much of the movie that like it is way more jarring than when it shifts to Liz, because we have spent so much time with Don by himself.
Right.
And so that kind of shift, and I always like it when most movies do it at a midway point. Not all movies succeed, but there are very famous ones that do succeed, like Psycho, or even like something in the 90s, like From Dusk Till Dawn, where you're one movie for half the movie, and then the genre changes or the situation changes into something crazy and horrific and so on. But that also works with a character shift. And this character shift came in the third act, but I still liked it a lot. Also, because like I mentioned at top, I was not going to be very pleased only seeing Tress Kelly Dunn on a video screen. So I was waiting to see how she would come into the story and what that would mean.
Which is great because you were wondering that, because then she comes in this unusual way, which she literally gets to like be the lead character for the final 20 minutes of the film.
Right. And it is funny. So at that point too, Liz gets very quickly gets the full brunt of that house. Everything with Dawn is like, here's a marble. And like she's like, here's a ghost orgy. Like you get, when she goes into the house, it's not long before all the grim grinning ghosts are just sort of walking from, like they own the place. It's like, this is my room. Like, get out. Like
right.
A bunch of old men just walking all over the place. Like they're the businessman from Requiem for a Dream. But like old timey with handlebar mustaches. Yeah. And so they, so she gets but I still think that still works for me. Like at that point, I feel like the house has charged itself up enough where it's like, okay, sex show time. And we don't have to go through another slow burn with Liz when she arrives on the scene where she has to say, what is this marble for 3 weeks, like what's happening, where she sort of walks into the eye of the hurricane, if you will. And like, everything is just going crazy very quickly after she gets there and can't find Dom. Because that's like when the house is just like at the end of, I don't want to keep saying like, look, I don't want to keep talking about The Shining just because like this movie,
it's a good movie.
It's a good movie, but also I understand that this movie would have been influenced by that movie, but it's still its own thing. But like at the end of The Shining, when the house is just like, fuck it, here's everything. Here's the bloody hallway. Here's the guy with the axe in his head. When everything starts unraveling and it's in turn down mode, that's the house that Liz walks into. And and it's just gnarly. Like, you know, there was an era that we went through with a lot of PG-13 horror that didn't really embrace gore. It's funny that the PG-13 era of horror almost also lined up with the quote-unquote torture porn era of horror, and that those sort of existed simultaneously with each other. But the full like removing of Phil Brooks' skin from Sarah, you know, was pretty gross.
And then also just like when he's killed and, you know, the marble going up his body and he starts, you know, he cuts his neck open with the box cutter. And then, just overall the gooiness. And when he, you know, at one point when he cuts open the wall and there's like just pulsating like flesh and blood behind it, all sorts of good stuff. It's funny, you know, by the way, I also know, you know, I'm always curious with people listening to this podcast is like, gore is something that is, you know, some people hate. Now I happen to enjoy it a lot. But it's interesting that I can't even remember what show it was, but you know, the TCA press tour is happening right now, a virtual version of it. And there was some show that it was so interesting because someone was like, it was Why the Last Man. So I won't go into spoilers, but people were like, there was basically a question about like, you know, a couple questions. One was about like just it being a dark subject matter in general. And was it like, you know, do they worry about that? And the other was about some gory stuff in it. And I hadn't even thought about it being a gory show because to me, it's not a gory show, but I guess there are a couple moments that are kind of gross. But for me, I'm like, oh, that was fun. But I also completely get it that some people are like, I don't want that at all. So I'm sure mileage will vary. I enjoyed a lot that aspect of it. By the way, that is one thing I do remember CM Punk telling me is just for him, he was saying how like they're apologizing about like covering him in blood and goo. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like I get to do this? Like, you know,
Well, also like before he gets killed and bloody, like he gets covered with like oil and like I'm telling you, everything about this movie is drippy.
Oh yeah.
And then at the end, when like he's literally hammering things and it's making the house spurt like different liquids out of different holes all over the house. And then the house is this regardless of these ghosts, the house itself is sort of at times becomes this biological gross organism in its own right.
Oh, it's like Cronenberg-y, yeah.
Yeah, and so with that, you know, it's hard not to talk about Cronenberg and not talk about body horror, but like stuff going under your skin, in this case, it's balls in the wall. But, you know, anything else like from like Evil Dead's Vines to what was the other movie with vines? What was the one that took place on the Aztec, the ruins?
The ruins.
Like that was another big sticking point. Like it's funny that there are these strata of horror and gore where it's like, I could take a knife to the chest and an axe to the face, but then there are certain things where it's like, oh no, like that's affects me on a very different brain level, like vines going in your skin or balls traveling up your skin or something like that.
Or like in Evil Dead, it always got me the pencil into the guy's like foot, you know, the back of his foot. There was
anything attacking the Achilles heel, like it's also the Pet Cemetery movie, stuff like that, where it's just like, I mean, it's the Achilles heel for a reason. So which is what here's the weird, and this is a tangent and a half, but like I understand visually people do it a certain way, but whenever they're doing rituals, whether you're watching a horror movie or Supernatural on CW and someone needs to draw blood, they rake that knife across the palm of their hand. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's going to take so long to heal and it's going to hinder your day-to-day life so badly and it hurts. It's like your forearm is right there, dude. And you're going to have to like, your giant gaping wound in the middle of your palm. That's the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, that made me immediately think of that. I get that it's cool that you can make a fist and drip blood out of it, you know, for whatever pack that you're making, but like, pick another spot on the body. That's because all I think about is the inconvenience to them. Like that's terrible.
That's going to be a big pain. I also want to mention the opening credits, just because they're cool and they're creepy. They set the tone really well. They do the thing of like going through the house. showing some of the oozing before we get to it. They also have a dead bee, so nice Candyman tie-in there in the opening credits.
Side note, that is not what I'm talking about. That I noticed that was similar between this and the new Candyman movie. It's just the one bee, the one bee.
You're not going to go 20 minutes on the dead bee. But also the opening credits, I don't know if you spotted this, Matt, had one of the greatest prestige credits ever. Me and Matt have both joked about it. It's also just a fascinating thing. It's like if someone has a with or an and, that's a contractually, something that got contractually worked out with their management. It's a prestige credit. And we talked a lot about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation one.
James Gale.
James Gale as Rothman, both because we didn't know who the actor is and they were making the character sound like really important and we didn't know who the character was. But this movie has a jokey one that I love.
I don't think the character's named in the movie. Maybe
I think he might be named for a second. But anyway, the prestige credit in the opening credits, mind you, is and Roker has Cooper. The dog gets a prestige credit, and I thought that was great.
Well, that was Phil Brooks being like, look, and this movie, by the way, talking about Roker's Cooper, does the cardinal sin of horror movies, which is it kills the dog, also very horrifically too.
Right. And knowing Punk fucking loves his dog, like it also shows you what a horror movie fan he is, that he's not like, no, the dog can't die. He's like, everything is on the table. So as much as in real life, he would not want anything bad to happen to any dogs. In the movie, horrible thing. I do like when that happens. I don't like when the dog gets killed, but I do like when he knows what it is before he opens it. He's like calling for the dog, can't find the dog, and then his dryer's on. And
well, actually, we kind of
and then he pukes.
Yeah, he's like, bleh. I think I skipped over this. Yeah, just more messings from people and houses. I think that we skipped over this part, which is him rebuking and turning away Sarah the next time she comes over for sexy time, and her as being vindictive, I guess, against that. I'm not sure why the house does what it does a lot of the times, but she kills the dog, which causes him to also her showing up, I think, in front of Milo. I can't remember, but he kills her. So he murders somebody. Again, we're talking about somebody at this point who doesn't know she's a ghost. So it also makes you wonder how many people he's actually killed as Don in his life, knowing what a piece of shit he is in the past, because it comes fairly easy to him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's something he wrestles with. It's not like something like, basically he has one conversation with her and then she kills the dog, or at least he assumes she does. And he drops her. And then he's like, I know what to do with a body in a basement and lie and all that stuff. Like, I feel like this is all coming from experience. Did you get that feeling? Like he's murdered in his life.
I didn't think about it while I was watching it, but as you say it makes sense. But look, I mean, a guy who's defrauding a bunch of people, sure, he's killed a person or two along the way. So
it's just him and the father from Say Anything, just stealing money from old people and murdering.
That's the team up movie we're gonna get.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what else to say aside from that. I dug this movie. I liked I really liked as much as I've mentioned other movies it reminds me of. I do feel like it stands out on its own and is unique in the way that it gives you an unlikable main character who you spend a lot of time with by himself, interacting with a very creepy and mysterious house that's very, as we said, gloppy and slimy. And then sort of how it takes him out of the equation and makes it about a different character at the end. And that's when you really learn the full breadth of what their relationship is and who he is. So I thought it was narratively, it was really interesting.
No, I agree. Inevitably, any movies of these type are going to remind us of other ones, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, I do think it has its own vibe overall, even while you can feel the influences. Especially this idea that like it's just it's reflecting his shittiness and then punishing him for it. And again, I really like that thing of the third act, like sort of switching perspective to his wife. So even though, I think we both had issues with some of the lore when it comes in, but different parts of it. But yeah, overall, I think the movie is very effective and in what it's trying to do. And I will say, if you liked this movie, you should check out Jacob's Wife, which is now on Shudder, which is
so you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Which is a vampire movie starring Barbara Crampton, but is very much about sort of like a middle-aged woman who's been overlooked for a long time by her husband and how vampirism affects that. And so I think so far both his films have kind of done a nice little spin on familiar tropes in its own sort of quirky, gooey way.
And again, as we said earlier, talking about a different subject, Eric and I are able to like movies even if we're not 100% on board with an ending or so on. Like the journey is as much of the part of the process as the ending. Also, just both of us knowing how difficult it is to land that plane. Yeah. And maybe being a lot easier on it than most people would be, maybe.
Which is not
again amazing for us. Amazing for us.
Amazing for us. But I also want to couch that in the fact that inevitably we'll watch something where we'll go like, "Oh, that ending was terrible and it ruined it for me," because it can happen. It can. Like with a movie. Yeah.
Okay. One more thing. So at the end, sort of the. Not quite a stinger, but like he's in the wall at the end. He's the ball in the wall.
Oh yeah, which I didn't like because I didn't think it kind of stayed true to what we'd seen of this. Like him being there felt like a beat you do because it feels like that's what you do is at the end. But I didn't quite get why he would still be.
With the house as confusing as it kind of is, and like the rules never quite laid out for us, and it's kind of contradicting itself at times. So what do you think of that at the end? Is he trying to kill his kid too? Like that baby can't swallow that marble, by the way. Like that's dangerous. Because it's not like he's trying to like, hey, you're my kid, hi, but he's like, and like here's a creepy little token, but that's a choking hazard. So I don't know. It didn't make sense. Is it literally the murder house from American Horror Story where if you die on property, like you need to because did they find his body? Maybe it's still there because the effort was made to take Sarah's body out and give her a proper burial, and that sort of supposedly removed the curse and the bad juju around the house. But what's his deal? Yeah, like you said, it just seemed like sort of a random gotcha right at the end.
Right. A lot of horror movies, including horror movies I like, have done that. Are guilty of like the gotcha for gotcha's sake that doesn't quite add up. But
did it really all start with Carrie? Because I remember that's why they added the end of Friday the 13th was because of Carrie.
Yes, I think you could put a lot into that being a hugely influential one. Yeah.
All right. Okay, everybody. That was Girl on the Third Floor. And also the whole movie, I was like, what's the third floor? And where is the girl? Like, is the third floor the bleachers, or is it like the bedroom? I couldn't remember. It's still a good title. It's a better title than Balls on the Wall.
That could be a subtitle. I don't
know. Everyone, thank you for going on this journey with us. We're taking a sort of a hiatus with no proper episode this coming week, just a full Candyman breakout episode, and then we'll be back the following week with a non-horror movie. Not even it's like a non-action movie. It's not even a thriller.
But if it's all these things you're saying,
oh God, I don't know. Is it a killer computer in these shoes? Like, what's happening? Is it like
it's gonna fuck you up? The computer for tennis shoes.
It'll fuck you up for life.
Anyway, on Disney Plus, check it out. It'll fuck you up for life.
The Creep. No, The Freak. Wasn't that it? What was the movie that'll fuck you up for life?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it's The Freak.
Well, and what's the movie it's from that we're even talking about?
Hold on, I'm checking right now.
Is this the Dudley Moore movie where he's like being honest in ads?
Crazy People. Yes, it is. It's Crazy People, and it was like The Freak. The movie won't just scare you; it'll fuck you up for life.
My very quick explanation is that Crazy People, if you don't know, is a comedy from 1990 where Dudley Moore is like an ad guy who kind of snaps and decides it's almost like Liar Liar, except that without like a magical thing, where he just decides like, what if we were blatantly honest in our ads and say exactly what things do and what they are, and there's some funny like throwaway lines like that. like advertising a movie saying it'll fuck you, which I guess means that that movie really was an effective horror movie if that's how he wanted to.
I know. I mean, I would see it based on that. You've got me. First ticket, first showing. Okay. So next time around, teenage Kurt Russell starring in a delightful, but also maybe severely traumatizing movie about computers and shoes. And as always, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shakma!